Okay, it's 8:01 p.m. and I'm calling to order night 5 of the Arlington Annual Town Meeting. Let's find our seats and let's cut our conversation short. Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank Arlington Community Media, Inc. for broadcasting, live streaming, and archiving town meeting tonight. Thank you, ACMi, for capturing the unique institution that is Arlington Town Meeting. Tonight, town meeting will be asked to take articles in the following order. First, Article 72, the appropriation for the Minuteman High School. Article 66, the continuation of the Audison feasibility study. Then Article 67, the Hardy School feasibility study, and then resuming Articles 44, 45, and so on in the normal numeric sequence. Now, please rise to join us in the national anthem performed on piano by Mr. Helmuth. Thank you, Mr. Helmuth. Mr. Hurd, before you sit down.
Not sure what's happening here. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. John Hurd, Chair of the Select Board. It is moved that if all the business of the meeting as set forth in the warrant for the annual town meeting is not disposed of at this session, when the meeting adjourns, it adjourns to Wednesday, May 13th, 2026 at 8 p.m. at Town Hall.
Okay, you heard the motion and a second. If we don't finish tonight, then we will reconvene on Wednesday, May 13th at 8 p.m. Do we have a point of order, Mr. Wagner?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Carl Wagner, Precinct 15. Have we lost our U.S. flag?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was able to see it from
Oh, I see
Madam
one
Clerk and I.
There's
Yeah,
one
we have
hiding
one. We
there.
have two flanking the stage. We usually have the one by the piano standing out. Apologies for that. We'll get it out for
Thank
next
you.
time. I think everything got shifted around here from the last meeting. Apologies for that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, so we had a motion. We have a motion on the floor to, if we don't finish tonight, to adjourn until May 13th, this Wednesday at 8 p.m. here in Town Hall. And a second. All those in favor say yay. Yay. All those opposed say nay. It is a majority vote. We will now take a test vote. Okay, the test question is, true or false? 1 for true, 2 for false. Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical High School is the oldest public vocational high school in Massachusetts. A majority vote doesn't make it true necessarily. Or false. Okay, get your test votes in. Okay, voting is closed. And the noes have it by a vote of 48 to 123, and the vote is correct. The Minuteman opened in 1974. The oldest public vocational high school in Massachusetts is Smith Vocational and Agricultural High School in Northampton, which opened in 1908, so not even close. Okay, are there any announcements or resolutions tonight? Yeah, Mr. Lane in the front seat.
Adam Lane, Precinct 3. Last week, I received an email, as perhaps many of you did, to say that one of our number who has until now had a spotless attendance record, Paul Schlickman of Precinct 9, cannot be with us here tonight due to circumstances beyond his control. You know, we have a policy and personal differences, all of us, but we are all united by our dedication to serving the town, and I think it's important that we show support for one of our number who cannot be here and who I know is watching tonight the live feed. So if you wouldn't all mind on the count of 3, just all shouting, "Hi, Paul," to him, I know for a fact he would appreciate that. So 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sure we all agree with the sentiment that we wish Mr. Schlickman a very quick return to town meeting. Let's see. Yes, Ms. Doctorow?
Sue Doctorow, Precinct 21, and co-chair of the Community Preservation Act Committee. Hi, Paul. We just want to be sure to invite all of you on Wednesday. We're having a reception to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the CPA in Arlington. So from 7 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday, May 13th, there'll be some past funding recipients presenting a summary of their projects. And then at 9:30 during the break, we're going to have cake and refreshments. And this is in the Lions hearing room that, by the way, has been repaired with CPA money. So we hope to see you there. Thanks.
Thank you. And whether you partake of cake does not indicate how you must vote on Article 77. Any other announcements or resolutions tonight? Okay, seeing none. Now calling for reports of committees. Any reports of committees to be received by town meeting? I see a hand over here. Yeah. Oh, first we have to take Ms. Deschler.
Christine Deschler, Chair of the Finance Committee. I move that Article 3 be taken from the table.
Okay, we have a motion to take Article 3 from the table so we can receive reports, and we have a second. All those in favor say yay. Yay. All those opposed say nay. It is unanimous. Yep. You have the floor. 4 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Ballin, Precinct 6, and member of Zero Waste Arlington Committee. I move that the annual report of the Zero Waste Arlington Committee be received.
Okay, we have a motion to receive the report of the Zero Waste Arlington Committee, and we have a second. All those in favor say yay. Yay. And all those opposed say nay. It is unanimous.
All right, thank you. I'd like to share a quick summary of what we've been up to, and I encourage you to go look on the town's website, the town meeting website, and read our full report. Next slide, please. Last year, town meeting overwhelmingly passed a resolution supporting a zero waste plan. Thank you very much for that. We have started work on that plan through 3 working groups. We hope to eventually have funding to hire a consultant to assist with the final report, and we plan to build a roadmap for Arlington to reduce its waste. Next slide, please. Our reduced single-use programs had a banner year. At the beer garden, we avoided about 1,000 single-use cups per event with reusable cups. At Town Day, we gave away over 600 rescued water bottles, provided free water from the MWRA truck, used 124 reusable food containers, and collected a barrel of compost. And the schools are making great progress as well. Gibbs switched to reusable trays. 4 schools now use metal utensils instead of single-use plastic. And all the K through 12 schools have replaced those little single-use ketchup packets with a pump. Next slide, please. Arlington on Tap keeps growing. This is our effort to provide outdoor options to refill your water bottle with free, delicious town water. We now have 7 outdoor refill stations, adding Parallel Park and Pierce Field this spring. Our website has an interactive map of every filling station in town, so you can check that out. The goal is simple: make tap water so convenient that buying a plastic water bottle is like using a payphone. It's really not necessary anymore. Next slide. On the legislative front, we've been tracking state waste reduction legislation. We've been pushing the updated bottle bill, extended producer responsibility for paint, mattresses, and batteries, and single-use plastic bans. The bottle bill sadly got tabled again this session, but we're cautiously optimistic about battery recycling, because in that case, the battery industry actually supports it. It turns out that recycling lithium-ion batteries is not only good for the environment, but it keeps garbage trucks from going up in flames. All right, next slide. Our outreach keeps growing as well. Facebook is up to 1,160 followers. That's about a 10% increase from prior years. Our Google group has nearly 400 members, and we're out at community events with at least one person trying to convince you to carry a reusable water bottle at all times. Next slide, please. For those of you who like data, here's some graphs to give you some more information. We're seeing some good trends with our waste numbers. Seen here, slightly lower solid waste compared to 2024. We diverted 28 more tons of textiles in 2025. That earned the schools over $16,000. And we know that the 65-gallon carts are a bit big for the average of 20 pounds of waste we each produce weekly. But if yours is mostly empty on trash day, then congratulations, you're doing a good job.
We have 15 seconds.
Yep. There are now over 2,500 Black Earth subscribers in Arlington, which means over 5% of our residents participate in curbside compost pickup. Just quickly, I want to just thank the members. Next slide. The members of ZWA were supported by Charlotte Milan, the Recycling Quarter, Rachel Oliveri, the Sustainability Project Manager. Both of them come to our meetings and support our work. I want to acknowledge 3 members, Larry Slotnick, Scott Mullen, and Priya Sankalia, who stepped down this year, and we really appreciate their service. With those departures, we have now 3 open positions, and so please spread the word. And lastly, just a quick thank you for, special thanks to Charlotte Milan, who is retiring in a couple of weeks. Her contributions to our committee and her dedication to helping Arlington achieve its recycling and waste reduction goals have been amazing, and we will miss her. Next slide.
Hey, we're out of time. So.
Yep, this is how you can get involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ballin. Yep. Any other reports of committees to be received? Seeing none. Ms. Deschler?
Christine Deschler, Chair of the Finance Committee. I move that Article 3 be laid upon the table.
Okay, we have a motion to lay Article 3 upon the table, and we have a second. All those in favor say yay. Yay. All those opposed say nay. It is a majority vote. Article 3 is back on the table. Actually, before we proceed, if anyone from the audio tech crew is listening, the speaker on my desk is not functioning, so all I can hear is the audio that bounces off the back of the auditorium, which is great for people who want to speak out of scope because it's hard to hear them, but not great for the meeting. Ms. Deschler, proceed. Or, as announced, we will be taking a few items out of order and begin tonight with Article 72 with the meeting's permission, of course. Article 72 being the Minuteman budget article. Ms. Deschler?
I move that the undisposed articles between Articles 66 and 71 be laid upon the table.
Okay, we have motion to lay the undisposed articles between 66 and 71 upon the table, and we have a second. All those in favor say yay. Yay. All those opposed say nay. It is unanimous. So Article 72 is now before us. Mr. Tosti, you want to lead us off? And can we, actually, before we get started, can we clear the speaker queue, please? Which I can see. I don't think anyone, I think you can see the presentation right. Okay, the speaker queue is now clear. You can request to speak on this article. Mr. Tosti?
Mr. Moderator, shouldn't it be 7 minutes for the timer?
It is.
Okay, thank you. My name is Al Tosti, Precinct 17, member of the Finance Committee handling Minuteman School. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend the assessment and the budget for Minuteman. to give the presentation. First of all, I'd just like to introduce Sarah Montague over there, that is representative from Arlington to the Minuteman School Committee. And I'd like to introduce, to give a presentation, Superintendent Driscoll and Business Manager Nikki Andrade. The floor is yours.
Yeah, Superintendent Driscoll, you have the floor.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank our liaison, Al Tosti, who's been absolutely wonderful to us. We have been to the Finance Committee, your very large Finance Committee, led by Christine on several occasions, and they've been wonderfully inquisitive and helpful. And I'd also like to thank your town manager, the assistant, and Superintendent Liz Holman, who's been a wonderful partner this year. I'd like to turn it over to my business manager, Nikki Andrade, who's going to give you the numbers.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to our presentation about our school.
Sorry, name and title, please. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Nikki Andrade, Business Manager of Minuteman. The budget we bring forward to you is based on our priorities, which are our staff and our students. So if we want to continue on to the next slide and the next following slide. We're bringing a budget which is a 2.99% increase from FY26, just shy of $33.5 million. Broken out a little bit further is our operating recommendation, which is just about 3.8%, which is just shy of $26.5 million. That is primarily based on the successfully negotiated collective bargaining agreement for the period of 2027 to 2029, as well as a high increase in our health insurance. Our operating capital is a 4% decrease, just about $1.2 million. That is mostly our capital stabilization account, as well as other items and capital needs for the building. And then our building project debt, which is debt excluded for Arlington, is consistent, just about a 1% change. So the next slide, you'll see our increase to overall assessments is just under $27 million, a 2.4% increase. But for Arlington, just under $8.3 million is a decrease of negative 7.5%. And that is due to the 4-year rolling average. So it's depending on the number of students from Arlington that are enrolled in Minuteman. So this next slide shows the total, $8.3 million for Arlington, whereas without the building debt, it's about $6.6 million. On the next slide, highlighting some of the things I'd already mentioned are CBA, as well as health insurance. Noting here our capital stabilization, we are recommending funding of just over $1 million to get that account just over $5 million at this point. And just noting also preemptively, so we don't get questions on OPEB, we are funding that, and that is about 18% funded at this point. Just a reminder that we are continuing to offset the debt service with our facility rental account. Our overall enrollment, you can see on the blue line, is 657, made up a majority of the red line, our member town students, and we have about 40 non-member town students. Our next slide shows Arlington's breakout, which is 189 students, 55 seniors, 39 juniors, 39 sophomores, and 56 freshmen. So we had 57 seniors graduate and 56 come in. So the average students has stayed the same. For next year, we sent all 57 applicants acceptances and 44 accepted for next year. So just to kind of break it out a little bit further, due to that, the 4-year rolling average has remained fairly consistent, just under a 1% increase, and the change in the assessment just under 1% as well, very strongly correlated to the 4-year rolling average. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have about Minuteman.
Thank you, Ms. Andrade and Superintendent Driscoll. Let's switch over to speaker queue. There's actually no request. Raise your hand if you intended to make a request to speak, but it didn't show up, just to make sure that there's no malfunctions here. So we don't have any requests to speak, so we'll proceed to a vote on the main motion, and I will just summarize it. Before we open the voting, so let's hold up on the voting This is a majority vote coming up to appropriate $8,268,757 to pay the town's apportioned share of the Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical High School District budget. And it is a majority vote. So let's open. Are these intentions to vote or to speak? Okay, so voting is now open. Green light is on. Please cast your vote. So you're in favor of that appropriation, press 1 for yes. If you're opposed to that appropriation, press 2 for no, or 3 to abstain. Okay, voting is closed. And it is unanimous, 200 in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. Okay, Ms. Deschler?
Christine Deschler, Chair of the Finance Committee. I move that the undisposed articles between Articles 66 and 71 be removed from the table.
Okay, we have a motion to remove those articles from the table, and we have a second. All those in favor say yay, and all those opposed say nay. It is unanimous. We now have, whoops, okay. So we now have Article 66 before us, which we will resume. Do we happen to have the speaker queue from last Wednesday before we adjourned? Can we bring that up? And it's a reminder to silence our phones. Okay, these timestamps look like around 10:50-ish p.m., which I'll assume was from last Wednesday. And let's see, 66. And this is Article 66 that we're resuming. And let's see. I did not take note of where we left off. Did Mr. Lamani speak? You did. And Metin Killick speak? Ms. Crowder? Yes, you're up.
Elaine Crowder, Precinct 19. I wanted to return a little bit to the $2.5 million. I was curious how that cost for the feasibility study was arrived at, what elements are included?
Mr. Feeney, do you have knowledge? Dr. Homan? Yeah. Mr. Feeney.
Good evening, Jim Feeney, Town Manager. So we basically reconciled costs that we had experienced with the Arlington High School building project feasibility study to be reflective of current rates, and then sort of ground truth those with existing consultants that we have relationships to make sure they were accurate.
Great, thank you. And what safeguards will be in place against overruns?
Mr. Feeney, do you have an answer to that question? Safeguards against cost overruns? Or cost or schedule or both? Ms. Crowder, any?
Yes, cost or schedule.
Any kind of overruns?
Yes.
Thank you, Jim Feeney, Town Manager. So the contract with the various consultants that would be undertaking the feasibility study on behalf of the town will be for a certain value, and we do not have the ability to exceed our appropriation at the feasibility study phase. So we can only spend the money that town meeting grants us the authority.
Great, thank you. Last, I was wondering, it sounded like there was about a 2-year period of time that this might take, and it wasn't clear to me what is in place if there are unexpected urgent expenditures for Ottoson during that period of time.
Unexpected in terms of the feasibility study?
No, of need to repairs.
Mr. Feeney? Can you speak to the timeframe of 2 years and if there's unexpected urgent repairs to be done that are discovered?
Sure, thank you. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. So the feasibility study would have no impact or bearing on our need to continue to maintain that building in a state of good repair, as it will remain our 7th and 8th grade middle school.
Great, thank you very much.
Great, thank you. We'll take Mr. Greenspan next, followed by Mr. Carmen. Mr. Carmen? Is Mr. Carmen present? Going once, twice? Okay, moving on to Mr. Jalkut. Mr. Gast.
I believe he is absent today.
Okay, thank you. Says the voice from above. Mr. Tosti. Mr. Moore, Christopher Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Christopher Moore, Precinct 14. Having been involved in my role as chair of the Capital Planning Committee in the process that brought this article forward, I have some information I'd like to impart to the meeting, and it feels silly to ask a question, Mr. Moderator, that I could answer myself. How would you like me to do it? Should I just say things, or would you like questions that a member of town staff could answer?
You might remember from last year how I feel about town meeting members asking questions that they know the answers to, right? You can ask the rhetorical question. You're free to answer it. It's your time.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So there are a couple of things that I think would be useful to clarify. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, whoever did that. I don't want to go too long. The first is that the amount of the appropriation is the amount that the town expects to sign the dotted line on that contract that we just talked about. We also expect that the MSBA will reimburse us for a fraction of that cost, and that fraction should be somewhere in the neighborhood of 44%. I think if people wanted to know exactly when we know the precise number, we could ask the manager about that. So the appropriation is more than the town actually expects to spend. And that even if the project is not built for some reason, the MSBA will still reimburse us for its fraction of the feasibility study. So I think it's useful to have those two things in mind as we think about authorizing the study, because once the study is done, we still have to decide what we're going to do with the answer. Are we going to build something? Exactly what are we going to build? And that's why we're doing the study, to try to figure out what it is we ought to do, what it's likely to cost. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Ms. Bloom? Pi Fisher from the Satellite Room.
Pass.
And Fusen Yaman Siren.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Fusen Yaman, Precinct 11. I have 2 twin boys in 7th grade, and every day I hear disaster stories about how they got stuck in the stairways. So I'm so glad that we're going to do something about that school, but I have some questions about the scope of the study. One of the first one that comes to mind is Audison currently serves 7th and 8th grade, which it used to be 6, 7, 8. Is this study scope will only be considering rebuilding the school for 7th and 8th again, or is it going to be 6, 7, 8?
Dr. Homan, do you have an answer? Is Audison going to remain 7th and 8th grade, or will it include other grade levels like it did in the past?
So one of the parameters of the process is that we define the largest possible scope of the building that we could potentially build. Mm-hmm. And then as part of feasibility, we engage with the community to determine if that's the plan we want to move forward with or if we want to keep with current programming. So the current largest possible scope that we have given the MSBA is to build a 6 through 8 building. And so it is part of what we will consider, have a lot of conversations with the community about, to put all middle schoolers at one site.
That's good. And then another question is, the size of the school will be based on the projections of the student population, which the school committee report says we constantly underestimate. So what are we going to do to make sure that the design that comes out of this feasibility study actually is not defunct before we even build it?
Yeah, Dr. Homan, can you speak to the difficulty in forecasting the enrollment growth?
Yeah, so part of the process that we do in feasibility is we provide a lot of enrollment data to the MSBA. They do some projections. We also do projections, some of which I shared with you the other night. And we work with the MSBA to land on a number that we both feel comfortable and confident about using birth rate, and other data that comes from the town.
Okay. One of my precinct neighbors brought up that according to the process, before we come to this asking for the loan, there's supposed to be a committee that looked into the feasibility study. So I was wondering who was in that committee, and was there a report? Or is all we need to get is just the slides that you presented the other meeting?
Dr. Harmon, can you speak to who puts together the plan for the feasibility study?
Right, so we actually just put the building committee together. We're in the process. That's actually part of the phase we're in right now, which is the eligibility phase. So we sent out applications to school community members and staff. We collected applications and expertise from across the community. We used some of the expertise from the AHS building project to do that. And we're putting that committee, forming it right now. That committee will be the committee, like the AHS building committee, guided through the whole process. That committee, once finalized, starts to meet. They meet before feasibility, and then they guide through that.
The slides that you presented made it look like committee comes first, and then the last step of the first block is ask for the feasibility loan.
The eligibility phase has lots of different checkpoints, and we're working our way through them right now. And one of the earlier ones is building the committee. They're not established yet.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just a reminder to direct questions to the chair, which is me. Next up, we have Ms. Rio. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Pass. Okay, so we've exhausted the speaker queue. So we will proceed to a vote on the main motion. There are no amendments or other motions pending. And so this, before we open voting, I'll just summarize this, will be a 2/3 vote to appropriate and authorize borrowing of $2,500,000 for the Ottoson Middle School project feasibility study, anticipating potential MSBA grant offsets. So let's open voting now on the main motion under Article 66. There's a 2/3 vote. Press 1 if you're in favor of the appropriation to authorize borrowing, or press 2 to reject the appropriation, and 3 to abstain. And voting is now open. This is the main motion under Article 66. Okay, and the vote passes. It's 200 in the affirmative, 6 in the negative, with 1 abstention. That now takes us to Article 67. Can we clear the speaker queue, please, for Article 67? And the speaker queue is now clear for 67. Do we have a presenter now for Article 67, which is now before us? Yes. Ms. Wayman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Julie Wayman, Deputy Town Manager of Finance. So tonight I am presenting on warrant article number 67. This article is asking for an appropriation of $375,000 for the feasibility study for the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system at the Hardy Elementary School. Next slide, please. Hardy's HVAC system will need to be replaced over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. The study for which we are seeking an appropriation is to understand what type of replacement is possible and what it might cost. The town could replace the current system with another fossil fuel burning system, but the Hardy Elementary is our second highest greenhouse gas emitting school building. With the support of the MSBA, we have an opportunity to learn what other cleaner power options might be possible. We as a town have a series of goals to try and reduce our impact on the environment. We have an ultimate goal of net zero emissions of greenhouse gases by 2050. Electrifying our HVAC system would help toward achieving this goal. We are also considering this work because we have applied for and received support from the Mass School Building Authority. If town meeting supports this article, then the MSBA would reimburse the town for 43% of the cost of the feasibility study. With that support, and if we receive a state earmark of $100,000 that has been requested, then the local share of the cost of the study would be closer to $115,000. Next slide, please. Right now, we have determined potential outcomes from the feasibility study and have rough estimates for the cost of each. Were the town to not pursue electrification of the Hardy Elementary, and we were to replace the existing HVAC system in kind, it's likely this work would cost the town about $4 million. In this scenario, we would not have access to any grants to help bring down the local cost. This scenario would also not include air conditioning. In the second scenario, were we to replace the existing HVAC system with a gas-powered system, but were we to add air conditioning, the cost to the town would be closer to $9 million. The two final scenarios would be the cost to the town were we to be able to electrify the building. The initial cost for air source heat pumps is in the neighborhood of $10 million. This, as one of the two electric options, also comes with the potential support of the MSBA, which is estimated to be about 43% of the cost of the project. MSBA support, along with a Mass Save rebate and Climate Leader grant, would bring the local share down to approximately $4.5 million. Finally, geothermal could potentially cost the town the least. It has the highest upfront cost of $13 million, but also opens up the possibility for higher rebates and grants while still receiving a reimbursement rate of 43% from the MSBA. Were the town to be able to do geothermal, it could potentially cost the town as little as $3.7 million. Next slide, please. If town meeting votes to support this article, then the feasibility study would begin next fiscal year. Once the study is complete, if ground or air source heat pumps are determined to be possible and affordable, then we'll update the FY28 cost of construction for this system in the capital plan, which would come before all of you at next year's town meeting. Next slide, please. If the article doesn't pass, the town would lose eligibility for MSBA reimbursement. We would also lose a significant opportunity for a project that would help the town toward our goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And to be clear, we would still be paying to replace the HVAC at Hardy in phases over the next 3 to 5 years. Next slide, please. In conclusion, if town meeting votes to support the article, the town would continue to apply for alternative funding sources to cover the cost of a portion of this important capital project. It would also mean supporting the exploration of electrifying our second highest greenhouse gas emitting school building and determining whether it's affordable and possible to electrify the building using either air source or ground source heat pumps. Supporting the project would also mean potentially avoiding a costly or unplanned replacement of the like system that would not include any grant support. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Wayman. So leading off, let's show the speaker queue. And Mr. Jameson will lead us off, followed by Mr. Miller. Oh, I'm sorry, 1 second. Because we had more than 5 speakers, the rule I've been following is that we will shuffle the queue. Apologies for that, forgot. Can we shuffle the queue, please? Okay, Pi Fisher, you have won the lottery.
Pass.
Pass. Mr. Benson. Mr. Benson? Yeah. Followed by Mr. Lamani.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Eugene Benson, Precinct 10. I mostly ask these questions because I got an email from one of my constituents a couple of days ago talking about why he thought the town should use geothermal heat pumps rather than air source heat pumps, which seems like the best option here. So I'm just curious, following up on my email conversation with him, what criteria will the town be using to determine which one of the 4 options to use?
Let's see, Dr. Homan or Ms. Wayman or Mr. Feeney. How will we determine which type of heat pump to use of the 4 options specified?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. So first we need to determine exactly which systems will be feasible on that site. I know there's a number of specific characteristics that will need to be evaluated to ensure that geothermal is even an option. But if it were, and all things held equal, I think we'd look at a full life cycle cost analysis of the project to see what was going to be the sort of most cost effective for the town over the life of the system.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Lamani, followed by Cale Pennington.
Faton Limani, Precinct 15. Mr. Moderator, I have a question about the MSBA funding. How certain that is? And if we do get it, how much we will get from them?
Mr. Feeney, can you say how certain is the MSBA funding and how much might it be?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. So if we find that a heat pump project is feasible and we proceed, we are guaranteed a 43% reimbursement rate from the MSBA for all eligible activities.
Thank you. I'm in favor of this article.
Thank you. Cale Pennington, followed by Mr. Holman.
Thank you. Cale Pennington, Precinct 1. Similar to Mr. Lomani's question, but perhaps I am in general in favor of electrifying the building. There were I felt like a lot of qualifiers in the description of the costs related to the air source or ground source heat pumps. And I'm curious, what are those sort of conditional on, and will we know as a result, are they only conditional on the results of the feasibility study, or are this sort of will we, won't we get a grant kind of questions in the mix as well?
Mr. Feeney, there's multiple qualifiers about costs related to heat pumps. They are conditional on what?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. So some of the qualifiers are because they are sort of merit-based grant applications. Arlington, for example, is one of only 35 climate leaders communities in the Commonwealth, and that would qualify us for an up to $1 million grant for a decarbonization project such as heat pumps. We are also already have applied to the Mass Clean Energy Center for a Greenworks grant. Again, no guarantees there, but we are seeking both a recoverable grant and perhaps a non-recoverable grant. And the other qualifiers are with respect to incentives or rebates. One is pertaining to the Mass Save program, which may or may not undergo changes, but there are significant rebates available for heat pumps. But at the federal level, the IRA incentives are only currently available for geothermal systems, but are no longer available for air source heat pumps. Hopefully that helps.
And Mr. Moderator, just to clarify, will we know do we expect to know the results of all of those sort of qualifying things as when we're done with the feasibility study?
Mr. Feeney, will we know the results of those qualifications at the completion of the feasibility study, or at what point?
Jim Feeney, Town Manager. We do expect to know the results of most everything, perhaps other than what the exact IRA incentive may be for ground source, because I understand you have to complete a project, I believe, and then submit, but we'll have a very good understanding of what we're projecting to get at that time.
Thank you. I am in support of this article.
Thank you. Mr. Holman, followed by Mr. Miller.
Aram Holman, Precinct 6. Would it be possible to show one of the previous slides, the one which showed the options? Is that possible?
Like the four options with the types of heat pumps?
Yes.
Yeah, can we show the slide with the four options for the different types of heat pumps? And while we bring that up, is this what you're looking for, Mr. Holman?
No, there was something with Ford. Yes, that's
there.
it.
Yep.
I'm looking where I can see.
Can you see the one that?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm in favor of geothermal. The idea sounds great. I'm a little bit wary of over-optimistic predictions, even at this early stage. And I heard the speaker say that for the last option, the geothermal of the 13 million or so that it would cost, it could cost us, after rebates, as little as $3.71 million. And I'm emphasizing the as little. That sounds very optimistic to have such a large reimbursement rate. I'm wondering if somebody could give a more middle-of-the-road estimate of what it would eventually cost.
Can someone speak to, so it looks like the 3.71 million is the minimum that might be the cost to Arlington. Can someone speak to other statistics such as the mean, the median, or mode, perhaps?
It just strikes me as very optimistic.
Yeah. There appears to be consultation. Mr. Feeney?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. So, of course, each of these sources is individual and distinct. So here, the estimate for what some of the rebates are for the geothermal program, it lists an IRA direct payment option of $2.2 million. So that obviously is its own source. And this is looking at Mass Save at $586,000, and then a Climate Leaders Community Grant of $1 million. So those are the various funding sources, which I'll say are outside of our control and potentially subject to change.
Am I correctly understanding that of 13 million, about 10 million of it would be reimbursed, leaving us with about 3 million?
Mr. Feeney, is that a fair characterization that of the roughly 13 million total cost for geothermal, roughly 10 million would be covered by outside of Arlington funding?
That is correct. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. The net cost of the town, if all of those sources came through with the numbers that they're programmed for, currently the net cost would be just over 3.7 million.
Okay, thank you. I realize this is predicting way in the future with a lot of uncertainty. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Miller, followed by Mr. Jameson. Mr. Jameson? Oh, Mr. Miller, you are coming up. Okay. Can't pass on deck. That's not how that works. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Matt Miller, Precinct 11. So my question, so I have a daughter, she attended Bishop, and so I fully support investing in our schools. The only reason I moved to Arlington over other towns is because I could afford it a little bit more than Lexington, but also because the schools are really good, all right? So I wanted to move here and make sure that my daughter had a good education. When she attended Bishop, there were roofs. There was a leak in the roof that actually the kids had to observe, and there were things that were less than ideal. Another incident was that you couldn't actually have the school confined so that somebody couldn't just walk in. I went to school committee meetings, and the principal was fully supportive of it. And eventually that happened. So I think that Arlington is making the right move. So the reason that I'm up here speaking is to understand, well, Harding it's a school very close to where my daughter went. And I think that it's really good to invest there. But it wasn't clear how they were able to get that investment when my daughter's school, we had to donate fans because the teachers didn't have fans and it was hot. And so my question, Mr. Moderator, is maybe it's not easy for people to understand in the community how to encourage this kind of investment in their own local elementary school. Can I have some information on how to help make elementary schools better, even though my daughter is outside of elementary school?
Yeah, yes, but not at town meeting under this article, because that would be out of scope, unfortunately. I don't applaud any. It's really outside the scope of this article. It's a great question, but we really need to be focused on the feasibility study for the Hardy School, specifically under this article.
I apologize for getting outside of scope, okay? I'm fully supportive of investing, and I support this article.
Thank you. We'll take Mrs. Cahill. Are you on? If you have something to say, please say it. And for the record, we concede nothing to the town of Lexington. Mr. Jameson?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Gordon Jameson, Precinct 12. I have one quick question. Why was this school picked over other potential opportunities for this work?
Dr. Homan or Ms. Wayman or Mr. Feeney? Why was the Hardy Elementary School chosen over one of the other schools?
Thank you, Jim Feeney, Town Manager. I will note there are certainly a number of elementary schools that are reaching sort of the end of the life cycle with their existing equipment, Hardy School being one of them. Much of this equipment is already past its life expectancy and is starting to experience downtime and failures. In fact, one unit in recent years has had to be replaced. I would add that it is, other than the Ottoson Middle School, this building with the second highest energy usage intensity in the portfolio. And thirdly, it's one of the only buildings in our portfolio that qualified for the accelerated repair program through the MSBA because of recent work done to seal up the envelope and replace the roof. So it met criteria and qualifications to allow us to pursue the 43% MSBA reimbursement. But the capital plan year over year does include money for the replacement of existing rooftop units at other buildings within the portfolio based on need and demand. Thank you.
And Mr. Moderator, if I recall correctly, although I was not living in town at that point, the Hardy was the first school to be rebuilt or renovated. Is that correct, Mr. Moderator?
Again, this round of renovations?
No, my question was sort of like, so this is the first one that this is going to be for, but historically, was it the first one that was renovated of the elementary schools?
Mr. Feeney, do you? This is really on the boundary of scope. Either a quick answer, but if we can't get a quick answer, then we'll have to move on.
Jim Feeney, Town Manager. I do know they were all renovated as a cluster. Mr. Tosti believes it was the bracket. I do know the plan set for this building was drawn up in '98, and the renovation was completed in 2001.
So it was one of the first couple?
Indeed.
Okay, so one expects that requires this type of work as one of the first couple. That's all I wanted to...
The equipment we're replacing on a New England roof you would expect to last 20 years.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Take Mrs. Cahill. Followed by Mr. Moore, Mr. Stephen Moore.
Hi, Eileen Cahill, Precinct 13. I'm just confused on the scope of this feasibility study because it's saying design costs related to a potential heat pump conversion project at the Hardy School, but then you're mentioning like geothermal. Is it going to be comparing different alternatives? So like one alternative would be to replace the existing system as is, the boiler replacement, compared to the heat pump, compared to the geothermal? Or is it just focused on the heat pump, or are they all related?
Mr. Feeney, can you clarify?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. So with respect to the MSBA process, the grant funds are for a heat pump project for which there are two alternative subtypes, either an air source system that would live primarily on the roof or a ground source system, which would be powered by a well field of closed loops in the ground.
Okay, so those are the sources, the geothermal. So I guess why is that then? Okay, so it's all based on a heat pump. Okay. So it's just exploring different alternatives with the heat pump. Okay. And then will the study get into operation and maintenance costs? Or is it just the initial construction cost and like installation cost?
Mr. Feeney, does the...
Like, will it compare operation and maintenance cost of a heat pump versus the existing system?
Right. Does the feasibility study cover just the cost of deploying the system, or also the management and the cost of maintaining it over time? I think is the question.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. The feasibility study would, of course, look at first costs.
Yeah.
It would also look at life cycle costs, which, as I understand them, with respect to maintenance, are relatively steady across all of the equipment types. The variable that would be in play would be with respect to operating costs, which you can do projections based on our current utility prices for. So that is typically incorporated into feasibility studies.
Okay, of the equipment. What about like the, I guess with the heat pump, I have a concern with replacement cost. So if it's a high, right now heat pumps are very expensive. So if we're looking at a lifespan of 20 years and then if it's a higher cost to replace, just, not for the short term, but for the long term. So I'm just hoping that the study takes that into account in its scope. It sounds good, for, we all want to use less fossil fuels, but I hope it also takes into account the temperatures here in Massachusetts, because it's not necessarily very feasible with our low temperatures during the winter as compared to a different environment where it's warmer temperatures to operate. So I hope the study takes that into account. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll take Mr. Stephen Moore next, followed by Mr. Greenspan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Steve Moore, Precinct 18. I want to apologize for my confusion earlier. I can't see the speaker queue up here, and I thought you said my name. I would never propose to pass for Mr. Miller.
Okay.
So, pass.
Okay. Mr. Greenspan, followed by Ms. Kane.
Andy Greenspan, Precinct 5. I move to terminate debate on all items before this article.
Okay, we have a motion to terminate debate under Article 67, and we have a second. All those in favor of terminating debate under Article 67, say yay. Yay. All those opposed, say nay. It is a 2/3 vote. So we'll proceed to a vote on the main motion. And before we open that vote, I'll just summarize this. This is a 2/3 vote to appropriate and authorize borrowing $375,000 for a feasibility study and schematic design for heat pump conversion at the Hardy Elementary School. So let's open voting now. If you're in favor of that appropriation and authorization of borrowing, press 1 for yes. If you're opposed to that appropriation and authorization, press 2 for no, or 3 to abstain. And again, this is a 2/3 vote. Okay, voting is closed. And the motion passes. 211 in the affirmative, 7 in the negative, 2 abstentions, and it is a 2/3 vote on the main motion of Article 67. So that now takes us to Ms. Deschler to resequence the articles for us, please.
Christine Deschler, Chair of the Finance Committee. I move that the undisposed articles between Articles 44 and 63 be taken from the table.
Okay, we have a motion to remove the undisposed articles from 44 to 63 from the table, so we can jump back a little bit, so it'll be in the normal numeric sequence again. All those, and we have a second. All those in favor of removing those articles from the table, say yay. Yay. All those opposed, say nay. It is unanimous. So Article 44 is before us. Let's clear the speaker queue, please. I apologize that the font is very small. We're still trying to fix that. It's more complicated than it seems. Speaker queue is now open, and we are back at Article 44. And let's see, who is leading us off here? Okay. Let's see, I do not have in my notes whether we, it's actually, okay, I have it right here. Let's see. Okay, did we already have the presentation on Article 44? I'm trying to remember now. We did, so do we have the speaker queue from that article? Oh boy. Apologies for that, I should have been prepared for that.
Good evening, David Morgan, environmental planner for the town of Arlington. I introduced this article, what was it, last week? We'll revisit that. So the floodplain overlay district update includes changes that were previously made to the wetlands regulations in the past year. The reason for that, of course, was that town meeting met prior to the needed updates for compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program. As a participating community in the National Flood Insurance Program, these are requisite changes that need to be made periodically. They come from both the federal and the state level and sort of boil down to the local level, and we need to adopt the attendant changes, of course.
Thank you. So it sounds like we already had the presentation on this. Madam Clerk, did we, was the Benson Amendment moved on? So that was already, I apologize, I did not have that in my notes. So we have the main motion in front of us, and then we also have the Benson Amendment also moved as well. And let's see. And so I think we're good as far as the presentation because we've already had that, and we'll now resume from the speaker queue. I don't have in my notes, unfortunately, and I apologize, where we left off in the speaker queue, but so I'm going to ask that folks help me out with this. If I call on you and you've already spoken from the queue, please be forthcoming about that. Mr. Wagner, did you speak on this? Pass? Okay. Mr. Schlickman is not here tonight. Ms. Biondi? Ms. Biondi from the satellite room? Pass? Okay. Mr. Goldsmith? Is Mr. Goldsmith here tonight? No. Mr. Ezra Fisher? Pass. Mr. Tosti?
Al Tosti, Precinct 17. Move the previous question.
Okay, we have a motion to terminate debate on all matters under Article 44, and we have a second. All those in favor of terminating debate under Article 44 say yay. Yay. All those opposed say nay. Nay. Okay, it is a 2/3 vote. So we will proceed with a vote on the Benson Amendment, which, can we show that? Because I know to refresh everyone's memories. This was an amendment to the main motion by Mr. Benson to specify a definition for what's commonly known as the 100-year flood, as established by FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, a definition for that term. So can we zoom in on that a bit? So that underlined text there, base flood, the predicted water surface elevation that has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year, commonly known as the 100-year flood, as established by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Okay, so the vote we're about to take up would add that text to the main motion. So let's bring up a vote now on the Benson Amendment under Article 44. Okay, voting is now open. If you're in favor of the Benson Amendment to add that text about the 100-year flood to the main motion, then press 1 for yes. If you're opposed to that change to the main motion, press 2 for no. Okay, voting is closed. And the amendment passes. 200 in the affirmative, 7 in the negative, 6 abstentions. So the main motion is now amended. And so now we'll, before we open voting on the main motion, I'll just summarize this is a 2/3 vote now to amend the zoning bylaw sections 2 and 5.7 to update floodplain district definitions, maps, and regulations to ensure continued national flood insurance compliance as amended by the Benson Amendment for that definition about the 100-year flood. So let's now open voting on the main motion as amended by the Benson Amendment. If you're in favor of the main motion, again, this is a 2/3 vote, press 1 for yes. If you're opposed, press 2 for no, or 3 to abstain. Okay, voting is closed. And the motion passes. 210 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, 2 abstentions. It is a 2/3 vote. That now takes us to Article 45. Mr. Revelak? And can we show and clear the speaker queue, please, before Mr. Revelak gets started? Okay. Okay, speaker queue is clear and open. Mr. Revelak, you have the floor.
Okay, may I ask for slides for Article 45 to be displayed, please, Mr. Moderator?
Yeah. I'm sorry? Yep, they're loading now, I believe. Yep.
Beautiful. So I'm Steve Revelak, Vice Chair of the Redevelopment Board, and I'll be taking you through Article 45, Portable and Temporary Signs. So Arlington, next slide. Arlington's zoning bylaw allows the use of temporary signs like A-frames and wall banners. We do not currently limit the number of these signs that a businesses could have. So Article 45 would limit businesses to one A-frame sign per business, and it would also reduce the length of time that a temporary wall sign could be displayed from 60 days to 30 days. The intention here is to encourage businesses to replace temporary wall banners with higher quality permanent signs. Next slide. And next slide for the main motion. The first provision sets a limit of one A-frame and one temporary wall banner sign per business. And the next slide. The second piece limits display of temporary wall banners to 30 days. So the Arlington Redevelopment Board voted to recommend favorable action on Article 45, 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, we only have one request in the speaker queue, so we will take that in order or randomize it. It's the same thing. So take Mr. Tremblay. Oh, and new request also followed by Ms. Biondi.
Hello, Mr. Moderator, Ed Tremblay, Precinct 19. I'm just curious, is this a solution in search of a problem?
You know I can't answer that. So what's your question? I can't answer that.
I mean, I don't recall seeing a ton of signs around, and when there are signs around, there are generally a good reason to have them. And we're wanting to regulate these little portable signs. Why?
Why are we, Mr. Revelak, do you want to answer why are we regulating signs? Portable signs? And what's the motivation?
Yeah, so the recommendation came from the town's economic development coordinator, Katie Lusai, who is also the staff person who enforces the sign bylaw. And is Ms. Lusai here? Oh, actually, Mr. Moderator, I think Ms. Lusai would be a better person to answer the question.
Great. Ms. Lusai, can you speak to the motivation for regulating portable signs?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Katie Lusai, Economic Development Coordinator. So really, it is a matter of giving more power to enforcement. In terms of A-frame signs, we have a number of businesses who do have multiple A-frames out on the sidewalk. And while they do a good job of maintaining the 4-foot wide clearance for pedestrian paths, it really has been cluttering the sidewalk and cluttering the streetscape. So this is an increase in the ability to enforce that.
You're the economic something?
I'm the moderator, but we do have Ms. Lusai here, who is the...
I'm well aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember her exact title.
Yeah. Ms. Lusai, can you recite your title to the meeting?
Yes. Katie Lusai, Economic Development Coordinator. I'm within the Department of Planning.
So how many businesses in town are kind of struggling a little bit?
Ms. Lusai? Or how many businesses in
Mr.
town?
Moderator, may I ask a question? Could we have an indication of how many businesses in town are struggling a little bit?
And this will relate back to portable signs?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Ms. Lusai, did you have an answer to that question?
Sure. I am Katie Lusai, Economic Development Coordinator. I'm not sure I would be able to fully quantify businesses that are struggling, but a variety of businesses are facing a variety of challenges.
So, Mr. Moderator, do we have any idea how much a permanent sign costs versus a portable sign?
I imagine it depends on the kind of sign, but Ms. Lusai, do you have like the ranges of costs of a permanent sign versus a portable sign?
Sure. In general, a typical A-frame sign costs about $100 to purchase, just the sign itself, and then to get perforated cardboard signage is another $100. So it's relatively affordable. Permanent signs, it really does depend on the contractor that you're working with and the design that you have. It really just depends on what you would want for your business, depending on the location as well.
So I have been involved in signs somewhat, and relatively simple signs can cost thousands of dollars. If you want one that's pretty nice, it can be over $10,000. And I don't really see enough of a problem around town with portable signs to want to inflict the expense of trying to make these permanent signs on a building that you rent and that you might have to move out of. I really don't see why we need to inflict businesses with that expense. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see, we'll take Ms. Biondi next, followed by Ms. Wilson.
I passed. My question was answered.
Great, thank you. Ms. Wilson, followed by Mr. Jamison.
Hi, Courtney Wilson, Precinct 15. Quick question about temporary signs. We were going to restrict the time from 60 days to 30. If the building, I'm thinking of the Papagenos in town that was, like the sign was taken down, the whole building, the frontage was done, and it took a long time for that to be redone. They had a temporary sign up for a long time on the new business there. Is there an exemption, like in case the building is being redone?
Ms. Lusai, is there an exemption if, in the case that Ms. Wilson described?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Katie Lusai, Economic Development Coordinator. Yes, under those circumstances where there are absolutely things outside of a business's control, we extend temporary sign permits.
Okay, great.
Across all circumstances.
Okay, and I didn't see it in the proposal, but if say a business has a temporary sign for longer than 30 days or 60 days, is there a fine waived on them or like levied against them, or how does that work?
Ms. Lusai?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Katie Lusai, Economic Development Coordinator. In those instances, depending on the instances, the first thing that we really try to do is just connect with the business and understand any situations that may be outside of their control, really trying to work businesses to meet them where they're at. The goal is not to punish anyone per se, but really try and come up with solutions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Jamison, followed by Pi Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Gordon Jameson, Precinct 12. I have one simple question. The word unlimited in its use confuses me. Could someone clarify my confusion?
The word unlimited, I believe, means without limit.
But it's unlimited.
What's the context? I'm sorry.
It says unlimited, but basically but. Why is that,
Let's say this is in the vote language.
Unlimited with the exception. So what's unlimited?
Well, I think that just means everything after the exception, I believe, Mr. Revelak or Ms. Lusai can clarify. Everything after the exception is basically the limits. Is that right, Mr. Revelak?
So yeah, in terms of the number, so note that unlimited is being retained from it is in the original text, but it's referring to temporary signs in general, of which A-frames and wall banners are two types.
So is that unlimited town-wide? Is that what that means?
No, it's without a limit per business on the number, but there are square footage limits.
Okay.
So it's regulated, but in a different way.
You guys will take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Pi Fisher from Satellite Room.
I move the previous question on this article.
We have a motion to terminate debate under Article 45. Is there a second? Okay, we have a second. All those in favor of terminating debate under Article 45 say yay. Yay. All those opposed say nay. Nay. It is a 2/3 vote. We'll proceed to a motion or a vote on the main motion And I'll just describe that before we open voting. This is a 2/3 vote to amend the zoning bylaw, section 6.2.6, to limit businesses to one A-frame or upright sign and one temporary wall banner, maximum of 30 days. Of course, look at the vote language. I'm just approximating it. And voting is now open. If you're in favor of that change to the zoning bylaw, press 1. If you're opposed to that change to the zoning bylaw, press 2 or 3 to abstain. This is a 2/3 vote. Okay, let's close voting. And the motion fails. 131 in the affirmative, 83 in the negative, 6 abstentions. It is not a 2/3 vote. That takes us now to Article 46. And before we take the presenter, let's show and clear the speaker queue, please. Okay, speaker queue is now clear and open for Article 46. Mr. Revelak.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Steve Revelak, Vice Chair of the Arlington Redevelopment Board, and I'll be taking you through Article 46, Animal Daycare Uses. Next slide, please. So Article 46 is comprised of 2 elements. First, it would add a definition of animal daycare to the zoning bylaw. Second, it would allow this use by special permit in most business districts. The exception would be the B4 vehicular-oriented business district, where the use would be allowed by right. So currently, animal daycare is only allowed in the industrial districts. Our industrial districts are small, which means there's little opportunity for people to provide this type of service in town. But there are people interested in providing the service, and there are people interested in using this type of service. So we are proposing to allow animal daycare in more areas of the town. Note that this is strictly daycare without overnight boarding, and there are a number of other laws that these providers would have to comply with. Next slide, please. So for the main motion, next slide. The left side shows the new definition. Note that animal daycare is a daytime-only activity, and overnight boarding is not allowed. The right side shows the changes to the business district use table. We are proposing animal daycare be allowed by right in the B4 district and by special permit in other business districts. So the Arlington Redevelopment Board voted to recommend favorable action on Article 46, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's switch over to the speaker queue. We have just 2 requests to speak. We'll take them in order. Still less than 5, so we'll take them in order. Mr. Selker, followed by Ms. Bloom.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Paul Selker, Precinct 9. I would love to hear the gentleman from the ARB characterize the ARB's reasons for not making this a by right use in all business zones.
Mr. Revelak, can you speak to why, the reasons why this isn't made by right in this amendment across all business districts and only some of them?
Sure. So currently, animal daycare is allowed by right in the industrial district.
Right.
The B4 parcels tend to be larger and industrial-ish, and that's why those were mentioned as by right. The others are special permit. It's an incremental, it's basically an incremental change.
Follow-up question, if I may. Is there a downside of it being by right in every business district? Business zone, rather?
Well, they're not all industrial-ish. So, Mr. Revelak, do you want to clarify? Is there a downside to it not being by right in all business districts?
So because Arlington's business districts some of them are mashed up right against residential districts. The trade-off is, yes, you could, or that was one of the considerations. So if we have lots of parcels where there's one business parcel and surrounded by residential parcels. So I understand there is a trade-off between allowing it by right or wanting to maybe give more scrutiny to those sort of cases. So it's, the board decided to make an incremental change, but I understand where you're coming from. Thank you.
All right, I'll take that. I'm tempted to move for an amendment, but I will hold off.
Okay, we have a second on some amendment, apparently. I don't think that's a thing. We'll take Ms. Bloom, followed by Mr. Brown. Pass. Mr. Brown. And after the meeting, I'll look up in the ZBL for the definition of industrialish. Mr. Brown, you have the floor.
All right, Austin Brown, Precinct 10. I still hate public speaking, but here we go. I'm wondering if anybody can comment on the amount of noise generated by our current doggy daycare facilities, and if it would be disruptive to restaurants nearby.
Like the sound volume that's produced by
animal daycare. Like if you have a really loud bark, like, are they indoor, are they outdoor, like
I doubt it's something that's monitored. Is there maybe, in terms of complaints, maybe noise complaints or something?
Well, I'm just imagining if there's a whole bunch of dogs in like a fenced area, that's got to be pretty loud, right?
I see Mr. Feeney and Mr. Champa. Mr. Feeney, do you want to, can you speak to like noise levels from animal daycares, doggy daycares?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. Inspectional Services informs me that to date we have received no formal noise complaints from our existing animal daycare uses.
I would not imagine that you'd get noise complaints if the doggy daycares are in industrial areas, but the scenario that I'm worried about is you get a doggy daycare right next to like a nice restaurant, and I think that that would be really disruptive to people enjoying the nice restaurant experience. Is that possible, given the change?
Mr. Revlock, is that possible? Maybe you could speak to the where it would be changed to by right versus where it would be by special permit. Would the permitting process take that into consideration? Yeah.
Right. So in the case outside of the B4 district, there would be a special permit requirement, which essentially means a public hearing. The potentially abutting owner of the business would have a chance to weigh in. The board would also have a chance to look at things in context.
Are the, Mr. Moderator, are the current, are the animal daycare uses that are being thought of, are they indoor facilities or are they outdoor facilities?
The ones that would be covered by the zoning change?
Yeah.
Mr. Revlock, would this zoning change apply to indoor versus outdoor?
I guess I'm having a hard time imagining what is an animal daycare facility.
Yeah, can you just, more consultation? Mr. Feeney, can you speak to the kinds of facilities, indoor versus outdoor, for animal daycare?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. All of the existing animal daycare uses are indoors.
Okay. Is there any sort of, Mr. Moderator, is there any sort of soundproofing that's necessary for these facilities, or is it kind of just whatever goes?
Mr. Feeney or Mr. Revlock, is there any requirements in the zoning bylaw that cover, or perhaps in the town bylaws that cover soundproofing for animal daycare?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. I'm not aware of any requirements that necessitate it, though it is feasible to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Pi Fisher, followed by Ms. Babiars.
I move to amend Article 46 to allow animal daycare as by right in all business districts.
Okay, to allow by right. In all business districts?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do we need a signature on, or can we get that retroactively? Okay, so we have a motion from the floor, and I'm counting the words. It's well with under 20 to amend the main motion to allow animal daycare to allow by right in all business districts. Is that accurate to the motion?
Yes.
Okay, and we have a second. Yeah, Mr. Wagner, we have a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Carl Wagner, Precinct 15. Excuse me, but doesn't a floor modification have to have like specific wording? We can't just say this is going to be for all business districts, can we?
I mean, the rule of thumb I would use, if it's average, if it's obvious to like the average like reader.
But I mean, obvious, pardon me, but obvious means like you strike something out and change something. It doesn't mean we just say, hey, this is for everything.
Yeah, so let me ask, comment, so, yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I have a question for Mr. Revelak. So looking at the table, the class of use table, and B1 is empty. So remind me now, does that mean that it's already allowed by right because there's no restriction on the use in that district?
No, the emptiness refers to not allowed.
Not allowed, okay.
There are currently no B1 parcels on the map, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, and a question for Pi Fisher is your intention for this motion to cover all the business districts listed in that class of use table, including B1, B2, B2A, B3, B4, and B5?
Just B2 through B5, sorry. So all but B1.
Okay, so maybe a way to restate this to reflect your intention is to change all the amended SP entries from the main motion to Y, to allow by right.
Yes.
And Mr. Revelak, do I have that interpretation correct?
I believe that interpretation is consistent with what Mr. Fisher had said earlier. So on printed page 23 of the redevelopment board report, where in the new use table row that says animal daycare, there are 4 underlined occurrences of the letters SP. Mr. Fisher's amendment would have them changed to Y.
Okay, so let me try this again. So I'll restate this to match the intention of the mover, and we'll move this again. Is the intention to replace all amended text from the main motion that inserts SP to instead insert Y?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, that is the motion. Do we have a second on that motion? Okay, we have a second. So that amendment is now before us. And Madam Clerk, and so what do we need in terms of documentation, signatures, and so on? Okay, so we can sign at the break when we need to. Okay, so that motion is now before us. Pi Fisher, you now have the floor again. Resuming your time.
That is all. Thank you.
Okay. It is 9:28, so this is a good time for a break, and we'll get that signature, and we'll come back in 10 minutes sharp. Thank you. Okay, everyone, we're going to get started here. Okay, let's find our seats. Let's find our seats and end our conversations. Thank you. So we're going to resume debate under Article 46, and we just took the motion from Pi Fisher. And next up in the speaker queue is Ms. Babiars, followed by Mr. Greenspan. Ms. Babiars, you have the floor. Okay, let's quiet down to give Ms. Babiars our attention. Ms. Babiars, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Joe Babiars, Precinct 15. I'm a dog owner recently, and I take the interpretation of animal daycare to be bigger. I would not want to be having 40 yapping dogs next to me either. I understand that. But in the business districts, this zoning is not the only hurdle that people have to overcome. They are still required to use state law. and local law and be subject to the animal control officer. So I don't know that anybody would be happy putting 40 dogs in roughly 3,000 square feet. I don't know that the animal control officer and the health department would sign off. So there's more going on. The other thing about the wording of this is that it's animal care. That could include very quiet things like grooming. There are also people who only like small dogs who take them on. There are different requirements that most of these places make. And as a pet owner, I don't want to have my dog injuring somebody or being injured by someone else. So it comes down to behavior. And training is important. And training is actually very quiet. The only thing that you usually hear with training a dog is munching the treats and good dog, or dead silence when they don't do what you want them to do. So I understand, and I won't speak to the amendment necessarily, but I am in favor of having more animal care places around. It would certainly relieve a lot of the congestion on my street and a lot of the noise, frankly, because the dogs are not well trained when they are walked by other people. And my dog has made friends with a number of them, but he always knows when the mailman is within a block and when other kinds of things show up. And this doesn't happen when he goes to daycare, I will say that. He's much calmer and easier to deal with, and their rules are really extensive. I know that Madam Clerk, Mr. Moderator, I'm just praising her, not asking a question, but every time I need to apply for a license, I'm not only reminded, but there we go. The rabies certificate has to be in, and within 30 seconds, I get the tag back. And hopefully he doesn't chew it so I don't have to pay for the next one in the same year. But I'm in favor of all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Greenspan, followed by Mr. Jameson.
Andy Greenspan, Precinct 5. I'm in favor of the main motion. I'm opposed to the amendments right now. I'm honestly on the fence about it, but I think the current main motion is a good incremental change, and we will see sort of, if this passes, we can see how it affects and how many doggy daycares, because there does seem to be demand, which triggered this main motion, to see how that goes and see if there are any issues. Also, just as a quirk of our zoning bylaw, amendments require a majority vote. The main motion either way requires 2/3. I think hopefully there's enough support for the current motion as is. I am concerned that the amendment would make too many people uncomfortable. Just my take of things. Existing noise bylaws and dog regulations, as Joe made clear, are pretty strong in terms of enforcing other issues that could come up with doggy daycares, and it was pointed out there don't seem to have been any for the existing ones. And we do have industrial zone that does abut residential and business because of sort of our mushed up zoning. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I will confirm, without weighing in on the merits, that the amendments to a main motion are always a majority vote. The main motion in this case is a 2/3 vote. That is procedurally correct. So we'll take Mr. Jameson next, followed by Mr. Slotnick.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Gordon Jameson, Precinct 12. The Minuteman goodies are quite goody, quite yummy. So at the break, I spoke with both Mr. Revelek and Mr. Chompy. I always say his name wrong.
Champa,
Director Champa. And I asked Mr. Moderator, and I asked Mr. Revelek a question. What does by right mean? And the example I asked him to clarify was, I said, oh, my barber has a rent space on the north side of Mass Ave in East Arlington. And could he decide he was going to have an animal care facility there tomorrow? And I believe Mr. Revelek's answer was yes. I went and then talked to the Director of Inspections and asked him if he had any issues. If he can correct me if I'm wrong. He didn't. He said about noise, you know, restaurants have bands and dogs or animals make noise. But he mentioned something that has not been discussed tonight. for you to open an animal care facility, the state animal care inspectors or rules have to be followed. So there's another layer beyond whatever we have here in town that would have to be followed by anybody who opened one of those facilities. So I pushed the button to speak because my initial response was no. The previous speaker spoke to the fact that incremental is best, which I agree with, but I don't have any problems with the amendment. Thank you.
Okay, we'll hold our applause. Mr. Slotnick, followed by Ms. Pyle.
Hi, Larry Slotnick, Precinct 7. I'm not sure, I'll direct it to you. Given that this is increasing, the amendment increases the scope to all business districts, I'm not convinced that town meeting members have a clear idea of where all the parcels are that are business zoned.
I'm sorry, can you step just a couple inches away from the mic, please?
You know, we all know the 3 commercial districts, the Heights, Arlington Center, East Arlington. But I'm just not sure if town meeting members would benefit from knowing where all these random business zone parcels actually exist around town, because they go well outside those 3 commercial districts that I mentioned a minute ago.
So what is it you want clarification on? Like which?
Well, these clusters of business zone parcels actually are in the town.
You want to see like the,
I think a map.
B2, B2A, B3, B4, B5 on a map, is it like the zoning map for those?
Yeah, and possibly bring someone up from ARB or the planning department to maybe just kind of give an overview of.
Yeah, are we able to pull up the zoning map quickly that covers those districts? Yeah. Yeah. Where might we find that map, Mr. Revelak?
So if you were to go to the Town of Arlington website, arlingtonma.gov, and you would click I want to, and then scroll over and go to Maps and GIS data.
Could someone on the presentation computer do that, please? We could have a live tutorial. If we could do it quickly. Yeah, here we go. Oh, actually, no, it's not. There it is. Okay.
Yep, I want to, and then, look up, and then Maps and GIS data is all the way at the bottom of the rightmost column. Yep. Now scroll down a little bit and click GIS Data Hub in the second paragraph. Now scroll down a little bit and click Maps. And then click, one of these is a zoning, that'll work. It's a static map, but it's a PDF, but it'll do.
Do you need to download it? Or?
It looks like you're going to have to download it.
So click the download button in the middle of the screen. Yep.
But actually, so you'll see basically seas of different shades of yellow. Those are residential districts. Along Mass Ave and Broadway, there's all this color. That's where the business districts are. There are a couple of little exceptions, like a little chunk on Summer Street and a little chunk here and there, but basically the purple and red and orangish and stuff.
Oh, the business districts.
Yeah.
Yep. The purple and red mainly. Mr. Robert, can you point to, do you know where some of these are, like B1, B2, so on?
So there are not distinct areas. So if you were to scroll in, or if you were to zoom in on the Heights, you would see business districts changing basically 1 or 2 times within a block. So for better or worse, the districts sort of represent what was there at the time the district was formed.
These are not contiguous regions.
These are not contiguous regions.
Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of a scattering across.
Yeah, it is kind of scattered.
Broadway, Little on Summer.
Yeah, and actually, one of my colleagues corrected me. The purple, sort of around the bikeway area, is industrial,
which is different from.
Which is different.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Slotnick, you satisfied with that? Great, thank you. I'll take Ms. Pyle next, followed by Mr. Tosti.
Good evening, Elizabeth Pyle, Precinct 8. I'm in favor of the main motion, but I do not support the amendment because I don't think it's fair to spring this on all the people who live next to these little business districts or work next to them, particularly because of the outdoor noise that these doggy daycares and animal daycares could have. And I think it would be an unfair surprise without any outreach to vote for the amendment. And as was discussed earlier, if you're talking about by right zoning, that means it can just go in there. And yes, there may be some state review, but I'd like the local review to make sure that this is an appropriate site. How big is the yard? How far is it away from residential neighbors? Is there going to be soundproofing? It gives people also a chance to come to a public hearing, if it's by special permit, to voice any concerns that other entities like the state might not be aware of, or that the redevelopment board might be unaware of. So if you have it by right, it can just go in anywhere, and no one local is making a determination about whether or not this is an appropriate place for noise given the requirements of this particular application for an animal daycare. If you make it go by special permit, we have a local board that we have in place to review, to make sure that this is an appropriate location. It's not an onerous proceeding for a business owner to go before the board, see if there are any unusual local concerns. We get that approval, and then everybody's happy. So I would vote and urge you to vote against the amendment, for the main motion, but if the amendment passes, I'm going to vote against the main motion, and I would urge you to do the same, because I just don't think it's fair to all the people out there who looked at the warrant and said, this doesn't concern me, I know there'll be a local review, suddenly it can go in anywhere unregulated at the local level. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a note on scope. Again, I'm not going to weigh in on the merits of any of the arguments. I did look at it more closely during the break, and I do determine it to be within scope of to allow animal daycare uses in business districts, which is covered. But that's not to say anything about Ms. Pyle's point about notice. It was noticed in the warrant, but there wasn't necessarily a hearing on this specific districts covered in the amendment. Thank you. So, Mr. Tosti, you're next.
Al Tosti, Precinct 17. I move the previous question on all issues involved in this article.
Okay, we have a motion to terminate debate on all matters under Article 46, and we have a second. So we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor of terminating debate under Article 46, say yay. Yay. All those opposed, say nay. Nay. It is a 2/3 vote. So we will now proceed to a vote on the Fisher Amendment, the Pye-Fisher Amendment, which I will describe. Since we don't have it available for display, so you'll have to just listen to me verbally. The Fisher Amendment would change the amended entries in the animal daycare. I'm explaining this with more detail than is in the actual motion text, just to make it clear what's changing here because we don't have this in print or in display. It would change the amended entries in the animal daycare row of the class of use table. And can we actually bring up that table so everyone can see? Just make sure everyone knows precisely what we're voting on, because this came from the floor tonight. Could we bring up the main yes, thank you. So the Fisher Amendment, which we'll be voting on momentarily, would change the amended entries in the animal daycare row of the class of use table in the main motion from SP, meaning a special permit is required, to the letter Y, meaning allowed by right. And that would cover districts B2, B2A, B3, B4, and B5, allowing animal daycare by right. And so let's open a vote now on the Fisher Amendment. If you're in favor of making that change to the main motion to include those other districts by right, press 1 to accept that change, or press 2 to reject that change to the main motion, or 3 to abstain. And this is a majority vote to amend the main motion. Okay, voting is closed. And the Fisher Amendment fails, 31 in the affirmative, 182 in the negative, 4 abstentions. That takes us now to a vote on the main motion, unamended, without any amendments, just the recommended vote from the ARB to amend the zoning bylaw, section 2 and 5.5.3 to define animal daycare and permit the use in most business districts that we saw earlier. This is a 2/3 vote. Let's open voting now on the main motion of Article 46. This is the recommended vote of the redevelopment board. Okay, get your votes in. Okay, let's close voting. And the main motion passes. 194 in the affirmative, 24 in the negative, and 1 abstention. It is a 2/3 vote. That now takes us to Article 47. And let's show the speaker queue and clear it, please. Okay, speaker queue is cleared and open. Mr. Revelak, you have the floor, and you have slides.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Steve Revelak, Vice Chair of the Arlington Redevelopment Board, and I will be taking you through Article 47, Definition of Building Height. Next slide, please. So Article 47 is a resiliency measure for the floodplain district. So it would allow existing buildings to be elevated or new buildings to be built above the base flood elevation. So our zoning bylaw has limits on building height. So in single and two-family districts, it's 35 feet for a single or two-family home, and the height is measured from the average grade of the adjoining curb. Article 47 would change this definition so that height would be measured from the higher of either A, the average grade of the adjoining curb as it is today, or B, the base flood elevation for a 100-year storm. So how would this look on the ground? A portion of our floodplain district is around the Alewife Brook, where the base flood elevation is 6.8 feet. That's 6.8 feet elevation, as you'd read on a topographical map, which essentially means 6.8 feet above sea level. So if you were to stand at the intersection of Thorndike Street and Herbert Road, that curb is about 2 feet below the base flood elevation, meaning that in a 100-year storm, that area would have the road would be covered by about 2 feet of water. So by allowing the building height to be measured from the base flood elevation, Article 47 would make it possible for someone with a home in this area to raise their home up 2 feet, give or take, so that it would remain above the floodwaters. So this article was suggested by the chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals, who had to deal with a case along these lines. They had a case where someone was rebuilding a home in the floodplain district, and building codes require the lowest level of habitation to be above the base flood elevation, and they were basically running into problems with the floodwaters on the bottom and the building height on the top. Next slide, please. So here is the text of the main motion. We would add the sentence, in the floodplain district, building height is the vertical distance to of the highest point of the roof measured from the higher of A, the average grade of the curb line abutting the property, or B, the base flood elevation established by FEMA. That's what this article proposes to add to the definition of building height. And we are also striking a reference to 5319A, which is redundant with the reference to 5319. The ARB voted to recommend favorable action on this article by a vote of 5-0. The board had an informal discussion about the Benson Amendment during our meeting on May 4th. While we did not take a formal vote, board members were supportive of Mr. Benson's amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that segue, we'll take Mr. Benson to introduce his motion before we go to the speaker queue. Mr. Benson? And can we display that? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Eugene Benson, Precinct 10. My amendment is pretty simple. It would add to the end of what they're proposing a phrase that says, provided the lowest habitable floor is elevated to or above the base flood elevation. You all know what base flood is because we discussed it a week or two ago. So this amendment clarifies that measuring the building height from the base flood elevation does not apply to existing buildings at ground level in the floodplain district, which are not required to elevate their first floor. As Mr. Relvalak mentioned, if you're going to build a new building in the floodplain district, you've got to elevate to at least the base flood. But if you currently have a house there, you're not required to elevate. So this would just say, if you're not elevating, you don't get the extra height. The extra height only applies if you've elevated. The other reason that this is in there is commercial buildings do not have to elevate if they're in the flood zone. They can build the ground floor that's protective of floods. So this would again say, if they do that, they don't get the extra height. So this is just clarifying, because it's helpful often to clarify what we're meaning, that those two things. And I appreciate the redevelopment board being in favor of this amendment. Thank you.
Before you go anywhere, Mr. Benson, can you make your motion, please?
Oh, yes. So I move this wording. Can I have a second, please?
Okay, the motion is
you,
before us.
Mr.
We have a
Moderator.
second. Thank you. So we have the main motion, and we have Mr. Benson's amendment on top of it. Thank you. So let's show the speaker queue now, which most of you will not be able to read because the font is so small, but we have 4 speakers in the queue. We'll take them in order, starting with Mr. Klein, followed by Stephen Moore, followed by Christopher Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Christian Klein, Precinct 10, speaking as the chair of the Arlington Zoning Board of Appeals. I would like to thank the Redevelopment Board for bringing this article to town meeting. The Zoning Board of Appeals has, for the past several years, brought issues that have come up during the course of our hearings to the ARB in hopes that some of them can be resolved before town meeting. In this case, I'd also like to thank Mr. Benson for his amendment on this article, but also on Article 44 for defining the definition of base flood elevation. The case that the board had before it, it was a redevelopment of a house. Because there was about a 4-foot difference at the rear of the property between the base flood elevation and the ground level. And because the lowest floor is in the base flood elevation, it can't be habitable, and actually it has to be floodable. So that if there is a flood, to prevent the walls from caving in, they have to have openings to allow the water to flow freely into the lowest level. So you can imagine if you have anything in that level, particularly if you have any equipment that's related to the HVAC system or anything like that, it will not survive. And that's by design. And so the intention here is to allow homeowners or developers who are redeveloping a property to move some of those up to the upper floors and hopefully up into the attic area so that they are able to survive storms in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Take Stephen Moore next, followed by Christopher Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Moore, Precinct 18. I understand the point of this, the focus of this article is residential space in particular, but I have some questions about commercial space. It sounded from what Mr. Benson had to say that commercial, since people aren't living in commercial spaces, they wouldn't necessarily get an elevation benefit from doing this because they could build their ground floors, I guess, protected from flooding. So my first question is, along Mill Brook, are those areas all in the floodplain or not?
Someone from the redevelopment board, perhaps, the buildings in the Mill Brook.
There are pockets of floodplains along, or 1% risk areas, 100-year flood areas. There are flood zones along Mill Brook. It's not along the entire brook, but there are pockets. And we do have a map for this.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My concern is that Mill Brook floods quite regularly, and I'm wondering, it sounds like commercial space could be built in such a way that would be resistant to that, but probably currently is not. And I'm just wondering if this has been considered in dealing with these elevation areas along the floodplain?
Ms. Revlock, has that been considered?
Yeah, the requirement is that habitable areas be above the base flood elevation, but as Mr. Benson mentioned, commercial areas have to be floodable. I can't speak to what kind of resiliency measures individual businesses might have put in place over the time. The first time you experience a flood in your home, you suddenly shift into thinking about how you can mitigate the damage and make it easier to clean up next time. But it's, I don't see this as having much of an impact to businesses or commercial buildings one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. The other Mr. Moore? Pass. Mr. Newton?
Sanjay Newton, Precinct 10. Is a unfinished basement considered habitable space?
Mr. Revlock or Director Champa? Can you repeat the question again? Mr.
Is
Newton?
an unfinished basement considered habitable under what we're talking about here?
Mike Champa, Director of Inspectional Services. It is not considered habitable.
It is not considered habitable. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have Ms. DeRocher.
Michelle DeRocher, Precinct 19. Mr. Moderator, I'm interested to know what would the highest level height of a building if this were to pass. So I understand the measurement starts at a higher point. And so what's the highest building compared to now?
Mr. Revlock, what would be the highest, if this main motion passes, what would be the highest level height of a building that would result?
So there's, in answering this, I'm going to consider the dimension of time. So Precinct 4 is probably the lowest lying area in a floodplain in Arlington. And it's that there you're looking at about 2 feet currently. Or the floodwater is 2 feet high off the ground, current scenario. Cambridge's climate change and vulnerability modeling that they did a few years ago, towards the end of this century, they estimate that the 100-year storm event that will be most at risk will be essentially sea level rise and a surge of seawater. They're projecting an elevation of 11 near the Alewife T station, which would be about 6 feet of water above the thing. Now, if you want to talk about 10 meters of sea level rise, this would be a lot worse. But the general gist is that FEMA, the floodplain district is tied to FEMA maps, and the maps do expand over time. But it could, by the end of the century, it could be a few more feet higher than it is today.
Thank you. So if I understand, Mr. Moderator, the highest level of a building essentially would be based on where it would start, and that would just be added to the top height. It's not like it adds a whole other floor of, a 7-foot height, because the lowest point in the habitable space is 2 feet higher.
That's my understanding. Mr. Revlock, is that, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Seeing no more requests in the speaker queue, we'll now proceed to a vote on the Benson Amendment. So I'll just summarize, and again, the scenario is that the amendment to the main motion is a majority vote, as it always is, and the main motion itself will be a 2/3 vote, either amended or not amended. And so voting is now open on the Benson Amendment. Let me just describe it again. This would, so let's leave voting open for a bit. This would add the phrase, provided the lowest habitable floor is elevated to or above the base flood elevation at the end of one of the sentences in the main motion. So if you're in favor of that change to the main motion that's provided in the Benson Amendment, you'd press 1. If you're opposed to that change to the main motion, press 2, or 3 to abstain. So let's just keep voting open for a few more seconds, but it looks like everyone's pretty much in. So Okay, hold on. Let's leave voting open just for another couple seconds. Okay, let's close voting on the Benson Amendment under Article 47. And the motion passes 208 in the affirmative, 6 in the negative, 3 abstentions. It is a majority vote. That takes us now to the main motion as amended by the Benson Amendment. And this is a 2/3 vote to amend the zoning bylaw section 2. So building height in the floodplain district is measured from the higher of the abutting curb grade or the FEMA base flood elevation as amended by the Benson Amendment. So if you're in favor of the main motion as amended, press 1. If you're opposed to the main motion as amended, press 2 or 3 to abstain. And this is a 2/3 vote under Article 47. Okay, let's close voting. And the main motion passes 211 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, 2 abstentions. It is a 2/3 vote. That takes us now to Article 48. And so let's switch over to the speaker queue and clear the queue. Okay, speaker queue under Article 48 is now clear. Mr. Revlock, and your presentation is up.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Steve Revelak, Vice Chair of the Arlington Redevelopment Board. I'll be taking you through Article 48, residential parking. Next slide, please. So Article 48 was inspired by it came out of some of the site plan review cases that have come before the Redevelopment Board involving properties in the MBTA community's multifamily districts. So our zoning bylaw has residential parking standards in section 6.1 that apply to single, 2, and 3 family homes. And we have residential parking standards that apply to special permits. This, we discovered, leaves a gap where a docket involves site plan review, but not a single, 2, or 3 family dwelling. So Article 48 seeks to address this. So going through the details, next slide, please. One more, okay. So first, the main motion would amend section 6.110 to say that location of parking spaces applies to project under site plan review. Next slide. And the second, section 6.110A, is changed to include projects in the multifamily overlay districts, also under site plan review. So the Redevelopment Board voted 4-1 to recommend favorable action on Article 48, and Mr. Boydoin dissenting. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So let's switch over to the speaker queue. We have one speaking request from Mr. Lamani. So we will take him in order, one of one.
Fatan Limani, Precinct 15. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would like to know why Mr. Bowden was against it. Can somebody speak about
Mr. Baudouin or the chair or vice chair of the ARB, whoever wants to. Mr. Baudouin, can you speak to why you voted against this?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Vincent Baudouin, Precinct 1. I would characterize my objection as not particularly serious, but I felt that this article added a restriction to the multifamily districts by requiring ARB review in the case, for example, where the developer wanted to have 2 driveways instead of 1, and I was questioning whether that additional regulation was necessary. But again, I would not characterize that as a particularly important objection. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Mr. Holman, you're next.
Aram Holman, Precinct 12. I am not sure whether this is in scope or not, but I have a question. The ADA, the Americans Disabilities Act, requires parking to be as close as possible. Is that consistent with the 600-foot distance you mentioned?
Mr. Revlock or Mr. Cunningham, can you speak to ADA compliance and...
I don't recall mentioning anything involving a 600-foot distance. Thank you.
Okay, I'll leave it.
Okay. All right, seeing no other speaking requests, we'll proceed to a vote on the main motion under Article 48. So this is a 2/3 vote, and I'll just summarize it before we bring up the vote screen. A 2/3 vote to amend the zoning bylaw section 6.1.10 to clarify that residential parking location regulations apply to the multifamily housing overlay districts. But really, you're voting on the detailed vote language in the redevelopment board's report. So let's now open voting on the main motion of Article 48. If you're in favor of that change to the zoning bylaw, press 1 to accept it. If you are opposed, press 2 or 3 to abstain, and this is a 2/3 vote. Okay, let's close voting. And the motion passes. It is 191 in the affirmative, 12 in the negative, 9 abstentions. It is a 2/3 vote. That takes us to Article 49. Let's show and clear the speaker queue, please. Okay, speaker queue is now clear and open for Article 49. Mr. Revlak, why don't you lead us off?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Stephen Revlak, Vice Chair of the Arlington Redevelopment Board, and I'd like to introduce Article 49, Home Occupations. Article 49 was a citizen petition filed by James Fleming and Andy Greenspan to update the zoning bylaws rules for home occupations. The Redevelopment Board voted to recommend favorable action on Article 49 by a vote of 5-0. And I'd like to introduce I'd like to introduce Mr. Fleming to make his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Fleming, Precinct 4. Can we please pull up? Oh, perfect. Can you advance the slides, please? So if you are an entrepreneur in Arlington and you've got a business out of your house and you want to expand, you have, among your many problems, you have one in particular. Usually it means going into some sort of a commercial. Sure, thank you. One of your many problems is that you will probably end up going into a commercial space, and you have a few problems in that area. One of them is that they're expensive. Even a small space runs thousands of dollars a month. Let's suppose for a minute that you have the money. Fine. The next thing you have to do is you have to find the right space. You need one that has the amenities that you need. For example, if you're a restaurant, you either need lots of electrical power or a big gas line, and not all buildings have that. And it's got to be that plus the location that you want, so you've got a hunt on your hands to find a space that actually works. Let's suppose you find that as well. The next hurdle you'll run into is you're negotiating a lease with a landlord. Commercial leases are typically multi-year, and if something goes wrong in that time, maybe your revenue doesn't materialize, or your costs go up, or we start a war with Iran, something like that, you may now find yourself in a place where your business doesn't work, but you're still on the hook for the terms of the lease. So Article 49's goal is to allow you to take one additional step towards expanding your business while staying basically in the space you're currently in, which is right now your house. Next, please. So the major changes that we're proposing to the bylaw to allow this are these three. So the first is you currently cannot have anyone employed other than yourself at the business. This would allow you to have one additional person employed as part of the business. The second is, right now you can't sell anything that you produce. Let's say you paint or you make something out of yarn or something like that. You currently can't sell that at your place of business, so this would allow you to do that. The third one is you currently can't have any advertising. This would allow you to have essentially the equivalent of a street sign, like a street name sign. That says, this is my business at this location. Next, please. If you look at the text of the motion, there's a lot of bulk of text changes, and most of those are minor. The first category is setting expectations for businesses where there currently aren't any. So right now, there's nothing in the bylaw that says your home occupation can't run until midnight. This basically sets expectations for operating hours. There's a couple others around, like vehicle deliveries. You can't have semi-trucks rolling up to your house. It's got to look like residential deliveries. There's nothing that says you can't have explosives on site. This would allow you to, this would set explicit limits on what those are. And then the second category of changes is mostly just organizational. It's consolidating definitions into this one bylaw section. They're currently a little bit spread around. Next, please. Among the three major provisions, their inspiration is actually drawn from neighboring towns. So these are a couple example towns that either have allowed you to have employees, allowed you to have signs, or allowed you to sell things out of your place of business. So it's not a new concept, it's just that different towns have done things in different ways. Next, please. I've got two examples of someone basically taking full advantage of the provisions of the article. So let's say you have a knitwear designer, for example. With the article, now they can have an assistant designer. They can, say, have a showroom in their house that showcases their work, and someone could, say, buy a pattern, or if they have like a sweater that they made, they could buy the sweater, and you can have a sign out front. What you can't have is if you were basically kind of walking by the house, you can't have a display visible from the street, so it'll look like any other residential property. And there are provisions around, like I said before, package deliveries. You can't have semis, not that a knitwear designer would, but still. And you can't have so much traffic that it obviously looks out of place in the neighborhood. Next, please. The second example is, let's say you have like a music teacher doing after dinner lessons, for example. Right now, they can't have an assistant teacher, and they can have one student. So this would allow them to have an assistant teacher and up to 3 students, so each of them could teach at once. Maybe one of them is teaching a duet to get you up to 3 students. And similarly, you can have a sign out front that says, I am X, Y, and Z music teaching, for example. What you couldn't have is basically there's a provision that says if you are creating so much noise that you are disturbing the neighbors, then we have a zoning enforcement issue, and there's liability on their end. And that's all that I have for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's switch over to the speaker queue, please. We have just 3, actually we have 2, 3, 4, 5, a bunch of speakers now, so why don't we go ahead and shuffle those. And home occupations, by the way, just to be clear, this is about occupations that you have in your home, not about occupying someone else's home. Are we shuffled now? Okay, we're shuffled, good. Okay, so we'll start with Mr. Hamlin. Pass, followed by Ms. Wilson. And then after Ms. Wilson, we'll take Ms. Bergman.
Hi, Courtney Wilson, Precinct 15. I've got a couple questions. One, we keep talking about houses.
Microphone, please.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We keep talking about houses, but does this also apply to apartment buildings?
Mr. Revlock or Mr. Fleming, do you want to answer that? Oh, is Mr. Fleming going to microphone in the balcony?
Well, there are I think two layers here. There's one.
Name and title or precinct.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Moderator. Steve Revlock, Vice Chair of the Arlington Redevelopment Board. So in the case of yes, so the bylaw would allow it, but any agreement that a tenant had with their landlord would potentially supersede that. So if the landlord says as part of your lease, you cannot run a business out of your apartment, then you can't run a business out of your apartment.
Okay.
Thank you.
But you could be living in a large apartment building, right, with like hundreds of units, and then if it doesn't say anything either way in your lease, you could have a business out of your apartment building.
Mr. Revlock, is that accurate?
Sorry.
I believe so. If the lease permits a resident to run a business out of their apartment, then ordinarily under the current home occupations, there are certain things you would be able to do, because your landlord said yes, and the home occupation section, said yes. This provision expands a little bit, but again, this seems mostly what's in the lease question, and that's not changing.
My next question is about stuff that's produced on site. You keep talking about knitwear, but like I'm a knitter and I can't even imagine like making enough sweaters, even if I hired somebody to sell them out of my house, but that's me. So my question is, anybody, what types of things can we produce? Because it says in here, articles produced on site, right? And they're, or incidental to the products. Does that include things like food?
Let's say, Mr. Fleming, are you able to answer that? Like articles produced on site, would that cover food? Is food an article?
James Fleming, Precinct 4. I think I'm actually, the article doesn't say one way or another. I don't know how Health and Human Services gets involved in a situation like this.
Director Champa,
Mike Champa, Director of Inspectional Services. As far as I read the article, it does not exclude food. You would need to get approval through the Health Department if you wanted to do something like that.
Okay. Before anybody sits down, does that also include things like alcohol? Like if I did like a home brewery, like if I made my own beer or whatever on site?
Director Champa, would home brewing be covered? Like not the software kind, but like beer?
So there are not those types of specifics in the regulation, so it's kind of open-ended as to what can or cannot be made.
Mr. Cunningham, do you want to add to that?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Cunningham, Town Council. What would come into play in that case is that alcohol production and sale are restricted by state law, and that would require compliance with that. So regardless of the lease, it would likely not be permitted.
Not be permitted. Okay. One more question too. Does that also include things like if I grow, not me, but like if that home site grows marijuana-related products, could they sell that out of the apartment?
Ms. Wilson's asking for a friend. Director Champa?
No, it's not me. I'm just curious about like.
Yeah.
So that would be under control of the Cannabis Commission?
Okay, and then that would be licenses, right?
Director
That's
Champa?
correct.
There'd be a license required, yeah.
And for the record, I'm not like that's not.
And we wouldn't be looking for a discount or anything like that.
No, not at all. No. And then my last question is, we're talking about like hiring people to come work in there, right? But then if we have multiple people living in that place, right, do they count as employees or do they count as co-owners, or how does that work logistically? Or
Mr. Fleming or Mr. Revlak, Director Champa, how, like, if there's multiple residents of that unit that are also working in that space, how are they designated? As employees or residents?
That's a very interesting question. In terms of, so the hypothetical example is that two people are splitting an apartment. They're each has their names on a lease. One decides to start a business and they hire their roommate.
Or they're both co-owners of the business or whatever.
Well, I think one employee on premise. So I read that as, one employee on premise seems to indicate that the owner and one other person, whether that other person lives there or not.
Director Champa, anything to add?
Mike Champa, Director of Inspectional Services. You've actually picked up on one of the challenges of enforcing home occupation is that it's hard to, it's hard to identify who lives in the house, who's a family member, who's a visitor, who's a friend, who actually works there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. It seems like there are an awful lot of unknowns, right? Like we have an apartment building where we could be selling, marijuana products or whatever other types of food products or something out of an apartment building, getting a lot of traffic in an apartment building, right? It seems like we need more time to kind of flesh this kind of a thing out. Personally, I'm not supporting this, right? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bergman, followed by Mr. Newton.
Robin Bergman, Precinct 12.
I think I am going to support this as someone with a small business. I actually am a knitwear designer, but I do have a studio outside of the house, which I've had since the beginning. But I will just tell you how difficult it is for small businesses like mine to find space. My current space I've been in since 1994. But recently, a lot of large businesses from 128 and 495 are moving into the building where I am because they've discovered that it's nice to be in a small town. I'm in West Concord, and it's a lot less expensive for them, even though my rent has now gone up more than 4 times what it was 10 years ago, and my earnings have not gone up that much. I was also recently told by my landlords that I'm now on month to month in case one of these big companies that are moving in that are startups in pharmaceuticals and science and technology want to expand, that I might lose my space. And I'm really more of an artist, not just a knitwear designer. But, you know, I may lose my space. Last time I had to move was in 1994. It took me, I looked at more than 75 spaces in order to find something that I could afford and that was appropriate. I almost took a space, actually at my rack, that was unheated and too small for me because I couldn't find anything. And at the very last minute, someone told me about a space that wasn't even on the market yet, and I was very lucky. I just feel like there are a lot of challenges for small businesses, especially creative ones. This may not be a perfect warrant article, but I feel like we have to start somewhere. There are a lot of contractors and consultants that work out of their houses. No one says anything about that. They make big bucks, much more money than someone like me. I'd actually like to also know what are the current rules about working at home, because there are an awful lot of people working at home, whether it's legal or not. So is that, Mr. Moderator, is that something that we could get an answer about?
Either Mr. Revelak or Director Champa, could someone summarize the current home occupation rules prior to the potential amendment through this main motion? Director Champa?
Mike Champa, Director of Inspectional Services. So currently, home occupation is allowed provided that you do not have employees or customers come to the house. There are exceptions where you could get a special permit. It's mostly doctors, mostly people in the medical field.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I am in favor of having one employee. I mean, someone like me, I might have an assistant or I might have someone sporadically come. So for example, I do trade shows. Sometimes I need someone to help me load my car. I may have stuff that is heavy, I need help, things like that. You know, also in terms of like deliveries and things like that, my neighbors get many more deliveries from Amazon than I ever would get. So, so I think there are a lot of things that people imagine that are like crazy situations, and I'm sure that there are some laws on the books that would allow people to complain about things like that that would take advantage and be extreme. So I am going to vote yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Newton, followed by Ms. Benedict.
Sanjay Newton, Precinct 10. I move to terminate debate on Article 49 and all items under it.
Okay, we have a motion to terminate debate under Article 49, and we have a second. All those in favor of terminating debate under Article 49, say yay. Yay. All those opposed, say nay. Nay. It is not terminated. All right, we have more than 5 standing, so we'll go to an electronic vote, which is a 2/3 vote for termination of debate. Okay, voting is now open for terminating debate. If you're in favor of terminating debate, press 1. If you want to continue debate, press 2, or 3 to abstain. This requires a 2/3 vote. Okay, let's close voting. And and it is not a two-thirds vote. 137 in the affirmative, 69 negative, 4 abstentions. It's not two-thirds. So debate will continue. Ms. Benedict, you're next, followed by Ms. Bloom.
Beth Benedict, Precinct 21. I had some questions about enforcement and fines and timelines for enforcement. And I also have questions about parking, because you could have people parking on your street, and that there's seem to be no minimum of people that can park on your street. And I am in favor of small business, but I do have these questions that I think residents might be interested in the answers to.
Okay, what are your questions? Like, do you have a specific question about enforcement, of like feasibility of enforcement, or what? Like
Feasibility, the fines, the number of people that can park on the street while they're going to these businesses, that kind of thing.
Director Ciampa, can you speak to the feasibility of enforcement if this were to pass, and the parking situation, like how many can park? Yeah.
Mike Ciampa, Director of Inspectional Services. Home occupation is a particularly challenging activity to enforce. I think one of the promotions of it is that it can't be seen from the street. Well, we can't see it from the street either. So things that happen completely within the walls of a private home, there's different restrictions than there are in a business. Unless there's a sign that says, "Come in, we're open," we can't just walk in. So enforcement would be challenging.
And for parking?
And specifically on parking, it says, like in the amended text in the main motion, no off-street parking spaces are required in connection with a home occupation. Can you speak to like enforcement of that? What does that mean for you?
Well, I mean, legal parking spaces are legal parking spaces. People can park in any of them. It doesn't matter what their purpose is. Your home occupation may be restricted to the amount of cars that can park there. It still doesn't make it illegal for those people that are coming to your place to park there.
And will there be fines, things like that to enforce it?
For which part?
Let's say you have people double parking, or you have people that are, I don't know.
So it sounds like there's like if someone's double parking, presumably you can't do that regardless of whether you're there for a home business or not. And so,
correct.
So it sounds like any rules for enforcement for parking are agnostic to whether they're present, whether those cars are present for that business or not. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, there would be fines for actual violations. If someone was double parked, if they're blocking the road, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next we have Ms. Bloom, followed by Ms. Biondi. Ms. Biondi from the satellite room, followed by Mr. Miller.
Jane Biondi, Precinct 7. Mr. Moderator, I have questions perhaps for Mr. Ciampa again, particularly about the hours of operation for the proposed warrant article. Currently, it looks like the hours of operation would be 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I'd love to hear how that compares to other businesses in town, whether those hours of operation are allowed for other businesses.
Director Ciampa, the hours of operation specified in the amendment text, the main motion text to amend the zoning bylaw, how do those hours compare to the hours of other businesses that you enforce?
Yeah, Mike Ciampa, Director of Inspectional Services. So 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. is, I would say, similar to other businesses in town.
Even on a Sunday, weekends as well?
And irrespective of day of the week, they're comparable?
Yes, some businesses may close early on Sundays, but others are open late. There's no requirement for them to close late on Sundays. To close early.
Close early, yeah.
Thank you. I'm voting yes in support of this article. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Miller next. Mr. Matt Miller, Matthew, followed by Mr. Wagner.
Matt Miller.
Matt Miller, Precinct 11. So my question is, it's pretty simple. Let's say that, if my neighbor has a party and there's lots of cars on the street, it's an annoyance, but that's okay. But let's say, this sounds pretty subjective at what would be overwhelming the neighborhood. And I'm just wondering what the escalation process would be. Do I call the cops? If it seems like it's so busy? What would be the escalation route so that I could try to, make my neighborhood the same way it was before?
I mean, a new question, if there were a party, as opposed to like a...
No, I'm saying like a party's okay, right? You have the whole street lined up with cars. That happens, right? Holidays, somebody's birthday, that's fine. But if this is happening day after day, and I feel like the business is really drawing this, and it's so subjective the way the wording is here, I don't even know what I would do to try to escalate it. Are you supposed to phone the police and try to get some enforcement? There should be some way that it could be less subjective.
Yeah, Mr. Hurd or Director Chapman, Mr. Hurd, do you want to address this? Like if there's lots of cars on the street for like a one-off situation, like a party, or if it's day after day, if there's like a business being operated there, what would be the escalation path?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. John Hurd, Chair of the Select Board. I'd like to note that I'm the only one that gets shocked by this microphone. So, the parking policy set by the Select Board, in instances where a resident believes that the parking policy or parking restrictions on any given street is insufficient, if it should go to a 2-hour parking or whatnot, you can send it to an inquiry to the Select Board. We'll either have TAC look at it or look at it ourselves, but that would go to the Select Board for any changes to the parking policy. So without any changes, there's really nothing that the police could do to remove cars from the street if there were no restrictions that didn't allow them to be there.
Sure. So that answers my question. Thank you. The answer was that there is a direction that you could take if something was different. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wagner, followed by Ms. Fabiano.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Carl Wagner, Precinct 15. We voted against a similar motion to this just last year, and I'm surprised to see something so similar coming back. While there are differences, I think we have to weigh not just the needs of the proprietor, but also the needs of the community around the buildings where changes would happen. And those are the neighborhoods that make up our children, our neighbors, our town. It's important to note that, as was said, home occupations are already allowed. You can already have single proprietors. You can already do quite a lot of things. And that doesn't change how the neighborhood really works, because there aren't so many cars coming. There's typically one student or a few customers, perhaps. Retail is not allowed, though. There is also an effect in here, which is to allow the entire property to be used, meaning if there's an ADU, a brand new apartment building, or excuse me, a brand new apartment that could be right on your property line or on your neighbor's property line that could be built, the yard could be used. And when we add additional employees, we also add employment problems of additional employees. So I'd ask you to think about even potentially what it could be like to be an employee under the pressure of working in an environment like that where things aren't good for you. It's hard also to protect those employees. I also think that we should talk about, what happens if we have repair businesses, massage businesses that go in? It's just not what we need in residential districts. It's true that it's fine for new people to come through any district, but right now we have low traffic, we have low volume of cars parking, low volume of people coming to the existing home occupations. This changes the neighborhoods into more of a business, and we lose our neighborhood. And I don't think our businesses in Arlington really gain that much from doing this. We're already struggling to put businesses in our business districts. So I ask you to think not just about the incremental change to the sole proprietor getting a little bit more, but what these major changes will do to the places where you and your neighbors live. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll take Diane Fabiano, followed by Mr. Hyam. And if you're wondering why I use titles for some people and not for others, I'm trying to follow folks' preferences as best as I can, scanning through the list. So, Diane Fabiano.
Yes, Diane Fabiano, Precinct 17. I'd like to say that the gentleman before me spoke very eloquently about how this could damage our neighborhoods. I think that 2 points in particular, traffic and parking. And I think that you need to remember that these are not business districts, so 7 to 9. And a business district is very different than 7 to 9 in your neighborhood where you reside, where your children play in the street, where now there's all these new vehicles coming and going. And my question really is pertaining to, we just discussed that parking could not be monitored by the police at this time. So there's like a process that takes time, probably more than we'd like. It's not something that happens very quickly. I'd also like to remind people that a lot of our large apartment complexes were built back in the 70s and 80s. I live in one myself. We don't have restrictions on home businesses because they didn't really exist back then. So we would have to come up with some new bylaws within our association to restrict businesses. As we, obviously, a community of 100 units, we don't want outsiders coming in. We do have a monitoring system right now. And we're already having parking problems in our private parking lots with new construction that's going on with new apartment buildings that are adjacent to us. So I just ask, how really would we monitor all of these issues that would be coming up as a result if this passes? Aside from just parking, coming on private property, our parking lots, and some of the other issues that have been brought up. What other mechanisms for monitoring this would there be?
Right, so other than parking, which I think we've covered pretty well, Director Ciampa or someone want to speak to like other
Like
forms
types of businesses, really how many employees
like the foot
are
traffic
truly there, traffic?
Yeah, so I think Director Ciampa already spoke to the challenges with enforcement. Director Ciampa, do you have anything to add on those particular points?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
Like on the points of, we already talked about monitoring of parking and the situation there. But I think as far as like the foot traffic, people entering like apartment buildings, are there any regulations or that inspectional services would be performing related to these home businesses if they have, for instance, like a lot of foot traffic for a particular home business?
Mike Ciampa, Director of Inspectional Services, we could only be involved if it were an issue where maybe they were exceeding an occupant load. There are no regulations against how many visitors one can have unless they're, violating some other code. So.
And the same thing for types of businesses? There's no restrictions under this vague language, correct?
There are some restrictions in there, but it is pretty broad. As we had discussion about that earlier, about the types of, I think the language was the type of like articles that could be produced on site appears to be fairly broad based on the earlier conversation.
So is the town prepared to monitor all of the incidences from this at this point? If this were to pass?
I think the answer to that has to be pretty subjective. Whether the town's Director Ciampa, do you have anything to add to that question?
I would just say, Mike Ciampa, Director of Inspectional Services. I would say that there are a lot of unknowns, and it's challenging to answer that question, not knowing, what it entails.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Hyam, followed by Pi Fisher. Pass. Pi Fisher from Satellite Room.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Pi Fisher, Precinct 6. I would like to, it feels to me like this is a question of whether people can make money doing the things in their home that maybe they can already do as long as they're not making money. So I would like to compare this to throwing a whole lot of parties at my apartment. There's been some questions of parking. Is there any current restriction on how many friends I can have park near my apartment for daily house parties that I throw?
10. No, Mr. Hurd, that was a joke. Mr. Hurd, do you want to answer that? How many people can Pi Fisher invite to a house party?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. John Hurd, Chair of the Select Board. There's no restrictions on how many people can come to a house. As many people as can fit legally parked on the streets in conformance with whatever the restrictions are on the streets are allowed to park there.
And there was mention of like occupancy limits. Does that apply? Didn't someone mention
Is
occupancy?
this relative to parking?
Is the question about parking, or?
My question was primarily about parking.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. And Mr. Moderator, is there any limit on how often I can hold these parties or what times of day I can hold these parties?
I'll allow it because I think you're going to make that clear, right, shortly, the connection?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. John
how
Hurd,
often?
Chair of the Select Board. So there's no restriction, again, on anyone parking within whatever the restrictions are on the street. So you can have friends come to your house every day and park within the timeframes that they're allowed to park on the given street.
Thank you. So it sounds to me like if we pass this, the restrictions on who can visit home occupations are greater than the restrictions on who I can invite to my apartment already and how much parking and I can use up, or my friends can use up. It really feels to me like this is, are people allowed to like make money with their hobbies or have small businesses that don't need commercial space that really could fit in their home? And I am perfectly happy to let people run their business out of their home if really it fits there. It sounds to me like it won't actually do anything more to the neighborhood than what's already allowed. I will be voting yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take Mr. Jalkut next, followed by Mr. Moore.
Daniel Jalkut, Precinct 6. I move to terminate debate.
Okay, we have a motion to terminate debate under Article 49, and we have a second. All those in favor of terminating debate under Article 49 say yay. Yay. All those, startling. All those opposed say nay. It is a 2/3 vote. So debate is terminated, and we will proceed to a vote on the main motion. I'll just summarize that this is a 2/3 vote to amend the zoning bylaw to revise home occupation definitions, use regulations, and sign rules to expand small business opportunities. Of course, read the full vote language yourself, which I'm not going to recite here. It's very extensive. So voting is now open. If you're in favor of these changes to the zoning bylaw, press 1. If you're opposed to these changes to the zoning bylaw, press 2 or 3 to abstain. This is a 2/3 vote is required. Okay, let's settle down and quiet down, please. Okay, voting is closed. And the motion passes. 159 in the affirmative, 47 in the negative, and 5 abstentions. No whistling, please. And takes us to Article 50. Point of order, Mr. Lane? Well, you don't need a point of order. You can just make a motion to adjourn. Yeah. We have a motion to, it is 10:53 p.m. We have a motion to adjourn, and we have a second. So before we take that vote, Ms. Deschler?
Christine Deschler, Chair of the Finance Committee. I give notice of reconsideration on Articles 66, 67, and 72.
Okay. Madam Clerk, we have those recorded. Great, thank you. Okay, and now we have a motion to adjourn on the floor. All those in favor of adjournment, this is a majority vote, say yay. Yay. All those opposed to adjournment, say nay. We are adjourned. See you on Wednesday night.
Thank you.